when you were thinking about the epiphany that you were having regarding media, I think you said non-for-profits and education, those three, all those three, and you can check, on your own, because the media and these big media outlets, they get grant money. The non-for-profits, what do they get? They also get grant money. And education, another public service, they get grant money.
Interesting.
And the media is viewed as a public service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This comes from a long time ago. And so you have these three outlets under legislative authority, which I think last time again we talked about, and I know this is a lot. I don't know if your audience can keep up with this, but there's three types of legislation, just to break it down. Transfer of payments, so I take from one and give to another. Protection laws, meaning laws that set up to protect, like tariffs is an example of protection laws, or immigration or tight immigration policies. And then you have, those are just examples. And then you have public services. And those three that you mentioned go under public services. So they come from taxpayer money. So again, taking from the haves, which is what I said last time, people that have private property, people that have money and they spent it through, and so they have to pay sales tax, or people, that produce. For every production that occurs and then they want to sell, then all of a sudden they're taxed on it. So they grab this money from the haves and the best producers, and they give to the instead of the transfer of payment giving to the have-nots, in this case they're giving to these public services.
Right.
And so that's why all these three are always pushing a certain type of agenda. And if they don't, it may never come out publicly, but they stop receiving grant money. And you see this all the time in science, and especially in science in academia, where these institutions that were once great, making great advancements in whatever field that they were, all of a sudden they're pushing for these results, and they'll stop getting grant money by the authorities that administer this money if they don't yield certain results from their testing. Because why certain results? Maybe even if they don't yield the results, the conclusion has to be formed of what they wanted to be shown.
Right.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Follow the money, and read the book, The Parasitic Mind. I really recommend it because it touches very heavily on this, but also Fiat Foods. It also touches very heavily on this aspect where those in academia that are rewarded is based on who is yielding certain results. And so all those three are public services that the money comes from the best producers and the ones who have the most.
That's crazy. So it's like, how can you even trust? That's where like the whole, like, how can you trust the expert if the expert is like, it's just a title, but it's like, how do I know that your results are legit,
You can't trust the expert when the expert is dependent on money, on free money.
Right. Yeah.
The money is never free. It comes with contingencies. It comes with, you gotta do this, or you gotta yield this, or you gotta push this little thing over here, and so it screws everything. And they need it because that's the only way they stay alive. And yeah, I've thought about that as well a lot, and it's kind of scary. And that's why oftentimes the best inventions come from people who are not in academia. The steam engine, which actually brought, once it was invented, I mean, you saw how it expanded across the nation, and it was used to transfer goods that one time had to be transferred in horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the goods are transferred and people can transport, now that's movement. It's kind of like electrical activity in the brain. What happens out here, how this is constructed, is just a resemblance of how it is in our neural cortex.
Mm-hmm.
And our neural cortex is designed how the solar system is. But the steam engine is a perfect example.
My man just threw out below. Let's go.
But the steam engine, that was not invented by someone in academia. The airplane, by the Wright brothers was not invented by someone in academia. The car was not invented by someone in academia. The rockets now being used that they go to the sky and they land on their own by Mr. Musk.
Was it Rockefeller? Yeah, Rockefeller was not. He was just a hustler.
Yeah.
Carnegie, hustler.
And so the best inventions that actually have the most practical use case wasn't even in academia. They didn't need funding for their academia work. And so what does that do? That pushes them to have to be efficient in how their money, because they're spending their own money. The Wright brothers use their money from the bicycle. They have to be efficient in how they're spending their own money towards what they're inventing. And so academia, if you're just a professor in academia and you just have a lab that's just pushing out data, the data is you're not really putting anything into practical use. And so you're not getting any money from your experiments. Like the Wright brothers or the Ford or the Firestone with the tires. These people were in academia. So they have to depend on the grant money. And that's actually what happens, why so much crap gets put out there and then it want to be used for legislation purposes. Or
what's crazy is that these people, they never built anything, right? But they call themselves experts when they've never actually built anything. Everything is all like, oh, I've written these books, I have all these degrees, but you haven't really like built anything like physical, nothing. It's all ideological. And then these are the people that we're supposed to trust. Like, for example, just like super out of topic, but like the CDC board getting fired. Like one of the guys from the CDC board literally said pregnant persons in his resignation. What does that tell you? The guy thinks men can get pregnant. And this is somebody that was part of the CDC board. This is somebody that was an expert. And like, if you think a man can get pregnant, guy, you are not supposed to be in that field. You're not supposed to be working in government. There's no reason why I should even believe anything you're saying. I don't care how many credentials you have. You're like insane.
But look at the psychological virus that they implant in us. The fact that we're taking time on this lovely podcast of yours, which by the way, this is a beautiful place. I'm not just to talk about this. The fact that it's even we're spending, and it's not just us. I mean, it has to be addressed,
right?
But it's that it's out there because people actually believe this stuff.
Yeah, I know. That's the worst part.
That we're spending neurological activity,
exactly,
and time to discuss this. It's they've done a great job in putting in the virus.
Yeah, it is a virus.